Hi, fantasy book lovers, TGIF. This is Thank Gods It's Fantasy Podcast. We are Kayla, Veronica, and Brianna, three best friends who love talking about all things books, from the romance, the conflict, and of course, morally gray men. Every 2 weeks, we will be getting together to talk about our theories, opinions, and reviews of our current read. Please read along, join in, and be one of our book besties too. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are Thank Gods It's Fantasy. We appreciate you being here for our first episode ever. Today's episode will be all about introductions to who we are as people and what we'll be doing, hopefully, for our show. My name is Veronica. I am a mother of 2 dogs, 4 children. I also still work part-time as a nurse. I love to read to get away from like the harsh realities of life. I say a lot. I don't know. What else does Sister tell us? I'm a Sagittarius and an Enneagram 8. Brie, why don't you say something about yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Brianna. I am newly married, no children except for one slightly crazy dog. But about me, I am up for debate if I'm an Enneagram 2 or a 9. We go back and forth on that on a regular basis. And then I am a Scorpio, but I don't know that I necessarily identify with that personally. And then we actually all work together. So we all work part-time as NICU nurses. So that's something we all have in common. And Kayla, I'll leave it to you.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I have 2 kiddos. I'm still kind of in the young kid stage. They are 3 and 5, so I live that life a lot. So books are kind of my escape from the normal mom day-to-day. I am married, and let's see, I'm a Gemini and an Enneagram 6 through and through. There's no question about that for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so how we kind of all got together, like Bree said, that we all worked together. And at work, we just kind of found out that we all love the same kind of books. I think we actually figured this out when we were reading the ACOTAR series, not together, but like at the same time. And then during that, we decided to make a book club through work. And funny thing is that started like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the first book we started was Crescent City 1, which happens to be the first book that we'll be talking about after this episode.
Oh my
So
gosh,
I thought it was
I didn't
kind of cool.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Veronica,
like
and I
That's
figured that out.
But one of the book club meetings that we had, Kayla actually set up like a retreat, I guess you could say, to the lighthouse over in the water. And only 4 of us could make it. But since that day, we became best friends. We got really close, and it was during COVID. So we were it for each other. We were each other's support systems. Kayla was pregnant and just having her baby. So we were really just it for each other. We do realize that we get really excited talking about books whenever we're reading together. So we're always like, hurry up. Did you get to this part yet? And it's so hard for us to not make any spoilers or ruin things for each other. So we're always like, did you finish it? And because of life, it's hard, you know? Let's see. So the kind of reader that I am, I realize that, again, I hate spoilers. I tend to not read the backs of books or descriptions of anything because I just kind of want to like live through the book. I want to experience the beginning, the middle, the end. I want to know like the relationships and not have any like preconceived like ideas of what it could possibly be. So I guess it's like I'm an emotional reader. I like to feel the things, and that's how I judge a book, like how much of my feelings were put into this or relieved out of it. I have supposedly, from what Brie and Kayla tell me, really great reactions to things.
Yes, you do. Also, you get yourself into some situations by not reading the back of the books.
I know, because I just...
Like with Haunting
Adeline. Yeah, I loved that book from like the beginning. I was like, oh man, this is really great. Like it has like the 2 point of views. And then I got to this part and I was like, whoa. And then I just
You were not prepared.
I was not prepared.
But now I know not to read it.
Yeah.
Not
absolutely. Don't read it because I know what your triggers are. Anyway, so also after I read a book, I completely forget about it. I remember, again, just the emotions that it brought me. And I'm like, yeah, this was a really good book. You should read it. But I can't tell you anything that happened. I just know that I felt great reading it, or I was sad, or it made me laugh a lot. But I don't tend to reread books because I like to move on. I don't like to live in the past, I think.
Really, you don't. You really don't.
Just go.
No.
Brie, what kind of reader are you?
I'm fairly similar to you in my reading style. I read fast. So, do I miss some of the little details? Yes, I do. I grasp the big picture, but anytime I do happen to reread a book, which is quite frankly far and few between, because a book has to really suck me in for me to even contemplate rereading it.
AKA Fourth Wing.
Yes. My great love.
Immediately.
Yes, immediately reread.
Immediately?
No, I didn't immediately, but I mean...
Shortly after, though.
It was not that long after, because I really did want to experience that again. But typically, I also forget a book after I have read it. So if I have read another book, it is now gone to me. I know nothing about that book anymore, aside from my emotional reaction. Did I like it? Yes. Did I have a visual emotional reaction? Yes. Do I remember anything other than that? No, sure don't. So I'm kind of a midway point, I feel like, though, between Veronica, who really remembers nothing, and Kayla, who remembers a crazy amount. But yeah, I don't love a reread, which is why it's kind of hilarious that our first 2 podcasts are going to be rereads. But I do actually love rereading these books, so they are up with my worth rereading.
Good.
What about you, Kayla? Lay it on us.
I am a much different reader than the two of you. Other than that, you know, Brie and I share like some characteristics. I'd say that I'm like an analytical reader, if you will. I love to, I read quickly, but I will reread the same thing like over and over again. So the same paragraph. If I like read through it and I'm like, wait, what happened? I'll like read it again like 3 times just to make sure I know exactly what's happening. So I pick up on every little nuance that there is, like tiny little foreshadowing, all the little things. And I feel like I am pretty good at foreshadowing and guessing like what's going to happen. I also love researching books. I usually wait till I'm done. Sometimes. Which Brie is like me in that we both kind of deep dive after and research a lot. But I love figuring out like everything there is to know or possibly could know about a book. Like if I'm really, really into it, I want to know everything. And I'm also a comfort reader. So I will reread my favorite books over and over and over again. So I have no problem doing a reread. I actually love it. Sometimes like the anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen in a new book is like, no, I'm just going to read something where I know where it's going to happen. What's going to happen. I'm going to be fine. My Enneagram 6 comes out.
Enneagram 6, yes.
Yes. Comes out
to
hard
a
with that.
T.
Yeah. But because of all of that, and because of us all being such different readers, I feel like we take on such different perspectives. Brie and I like to shock Veronica with our predictions
Mm-hmm.
or the things that like I picked up on. They'll be like, what do you mean from where? And I'm like, well, remember when that guy said that one thing in that one chapter in that one sentence? They're like, no.
Sure don't.
Yep, sure don't.
I don't
I'm like, who's
remember
that guy again?
Yeah.
I'm like, can you give me the backstory? And actually, I need to reread that if I remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. And I remember characters like
So well. It's impressive.
Like they're real
very
people.
well.
Like you've met them, and
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, no.
But through this, like, I feel like we will have such good like reactions and conversations,
Yes.
and we're gonna pull that all out of you, Veronica. We're gonna be like, boom! Guess what?
Oh
It'll be
my
great.
gosh. Good. I'm
Not
glad.
ready.
Wait,
Not
so
ready.
what's your latest reads, Kayla, and then like your favorite books that you've read?
So, of course, I just read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I've reread Fourth Wing twice already. I was a pretty immediate reread on that one. And
Yeah,
then
you were.
I have just been like deep into the Sarah J. Maas world, rereading all of them, preparing for Crescent City 3. So I reread ACOTAR, which I've done many times.
So many.
I just finished rereading Throne of Glass, the entire first one, which was actually really fun because I hadn't read that in five
Yeah.
years. I think I read that right before we started our book club.
Yeah.
For the first time. And so I actually didn't remember a lot from that. Like I remembered overarching characters and themes and what happened, but
Welcome.
whew, man, rereading that, I have picked, and like that, and then reading Crescent City now, I've picked
Yeah.
up on so many things. I like to say, I've said this to them like several times in the last few weeks. Like, Sarah J. Maas is an evil genius, I swear to God.
I agree.
It's all connected.
Meanwhile,
all
I've never even
connected.
read Throne of Glass, so
I know.
We've
which
got to get her.
we-
We'll get there, guys.
Cannot wait for those reactions because
Yeah.
so
Ugh.
much crying. Just so much crying.
Oh my
Yes.
God, you know I'm a
There's
big
going to be so much
crybaby.
crying.
Mhm,
But yeah,
for
so
sure.
I'm prepping for Crescent City 3. And
Ugh.
I'm very excited.
What
Yes.
about you, Brie?
I just finished the War of Lost Heart series, which I really liked. And then, of course, my sweet, sweet love of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. So I finished reading Iron Flame, and I was doing a reread until we jumped into this podcast idea because I cannot do two books at the same time like some people. I'm very impressed by people who can do that. Again, I will just forget everything.
Mhm.
But they are my sweet loves now, and I will die for Rebecca Yaros. It's fine.
Okay,
I know
all
that's
of-
dramatic.
All of the merch that we've gotten.
I know. And meanwhile, I'm wearing my Harry Potter merch instead of my.
That is surprising, honestly.
I know. I had to hold myself back for this one at least. It'll come
Later.
guys.
It'll come.
Later.
It'll come.
What is it? Wait, you guys didn't say what your favorite books were.
I mean, I think it was clear that my favorite
I know
books
you-
are Fourth Wing and Iron
Fourth
Flame.
Wing. Okay. What about you, Kayla? Same thing?
Fourth Wing is definitely one of my favorites. I'm a huge Harry Potter person, so those will always have a very special place in my heart. I also really like the Zodiac Academy
Mhm.
series. I just wish they weren't so long. So long.
I mean, who doesn't love a cliffhanger every single book?
In every book.
But like, can we get to a point, you know?
No.
But I just really love I love them and I love those characters.
I mean, I do agree.
So that is a favorite. And
Geraldine's
then of
my
course,
favorite.
like anything that Sarah J. Maas does.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love her.
Easy.
What about you, Veronica?
My latest reads. I didn't really read anything in December. So all my November reads were Fourth Ring, Iron Flame, Lightlark, Nightbane,
Hmm.
Liars Like Us. I think there's a second book in that series that I read also. Saying that I never reread books is usually true, but I guess I can't say never. I actually reread Fourth Wing because I did enjoy it a lot. It was one of the best books I've read. And I really wanted to like remember all the things because then again,
Mhm.
I forget. And so I read right into Iron Flame. Will I reread all of them again with the next book? I don't know.
I was gonna say feels questionable.
Maybe
Honestly,
Iron Flame.
Probably.
Yeah, I could
But
see
I don't
that, not doing the full thing that time.
Yeah.
I also read Light Lark when it had first come out, so that's another book that I reread, which
Oh, I didn't realize
I did
that.
not know that.
it was
Me
actually one of the
too.
books that we were supposed to read in our book club.
I know that we didn't. Well,
I
I
read it.
didn't. I know you did.
I did.
Yeah, we looked back at what we were supposed to read in book club. That was one of them.
I was like, you guys, this book is
I
so
literally
good.
don't even remember that.
But I really
So-
enjoyed that one. But
That is on my to be read list. Yeah.
I don't know if I have a favorite book, but one book that I guess kind of stuck with me is called Kingdom of Exiles. I don't even remember who
Oh.
it's by.
Oh,
There's
I
a
can
second
picture
book
it.
that just had come out, and I remember liking it and wanting to tell everyone about it. I think I told a couple of people, but I mean, let me see here. One moment while I peruse my Kindle. While I'm
Your
perusing my
never-ending
Kindle for this, it's by SB Nova.
Hmm.
But
I don't think I've heard of that one.
I
I
think I can
liked it a
picture
lot.
the front of the book. That's I don't remember names. I remember what they look like.
Mm.
yeah, but I really, really enjoy it. Speaking of Kindle, are you guys Kindle readers or physical book readers?
Or audiobook.
Or audiobook readers?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I read primarily Kindle, primarily on my phone.
Mhm.
But I also do a lot of audiobooks. Almost every book that I get, I download the audiobook too, just because I'm like a all-consuming reader. Like I cannot do anything else.
Mhm.
As a mom of a 3 and 5-year-old, I can't really do that all the time. And so, in
What?
order to still be a human being and a mom and get stuff done around the house,
Mhm.
I usually have my audiobook in, and I'll like ping back and forth between the two. So I love doing that. But through Fourth Wing, I was like not a physical book collector. Nothing. Through Fourth Wing,
Here we are.
I fully sucked into like the craze of collecting the books. I actually have the original is like up that way. So I have 4. And I just couldn't stop. It was like me and Bree got going on the special editions and them coming out. And I think honestly what it was the fact that I walked by it in Target for like weeks probably and saw it there, the like first edition with the
Wow.
sprayed edges.
And you didn't buy it.
And I
I'm
didn't try it
shook.
until Bree was like, "Oh my god, it's so good, you have to read it." Well, by that time, Book Talk had
Bye-bye.
caught on. Yeah.
Mhm.
Everyone in Book Talk knew that, so couldn't find it anywhere. So I think I was just like kicking myself. I was like, God.
And now you
I
must
could've.
have all of them.
And now I must have all of them. So now I'm a book dragon
Yes.
who must have all the books.
Welcome.
And I have since bought all of my other favorite books in physical copies that will be my trophies
Yes.
on my bookcase.
I feel that.
I like that.
I was gonna say, I think for me, I mean, I definitely use all 3 at this point. I do less audiobook. I think for me, sometimes it's hard just based off who the audiobook reader is as far as what voices they make. Sometimes they're exceptional, and then sometimes they lose me a little bit. And so I will always love reading a physical book because that's just how I grew up reading, and like I love holding a tangible book, the book scent, all of it. But the convenience of a Kindle is just phenomenal. Also on my phone, because I'd be in the middle of the night reading and I don't want to have the light on. So I think it's just become a convenience to read it on my Kindle, but do love a physical book and am a collector of physical books at this point. I do have a problem. It's okay.
It is okay. No one's judging.
You made me adopt that problem.
I
So
know.
I
I'm
slightly blame you for
sorry.
that.
I get that.
I also do all 3, primarily Kindle, on my phone as well. I do like using my Kindle reader. whenever I'm out places and I don't want my phone to die.
Valid.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's when I use that one. But otherwise, I primarily do it on my phone. I like to first read a book before I listen to a book because I feel like
Yes.
sometimes the voices in my head that I have for each character
Yeah.
is not the same as the reader has for them. And then it kind of ruins things for me. So I like to read it and then like really have it set in my brain who they are and
Mhm.
what they sound like before I let someone else try to influence my imagination.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I used to when I first started reading, well, I guess because that was the only option, or physical books, because I'm getting old.
No, you're not. Stop it.
Get out of
We
here.
didn't have Kindles or computers really back then.
I mean, I think back in my old day, the computers were just starting. So let's calm
Yeah.
down. We didn't have
And,
Kindle
like,
either. Okay.
Dial up. Hello.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. I couldn't
Waiting
get on
for
the
it to-
phone. I remember.
You gotta wait. Yeah, everything sound like a fax machine.
So don't act like you're that much older,
Seriously.
ma'am.
But I do have some physical books. I really wait to love a series and wait for the series to be complete so that I can collect them all.
Yeah.
However, I did buy Crescent City 1 and 2. Obviously, the series
They're
isn't
just
done,
beautiful.
but I have them.
Mhm.
They are beautiful hardback covers.
Yeah.
And then I do have Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Those are my most current new physical books.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I totally agree though with how an audiobook author can completely change it for you.
Mhm.
I also have to see the names in
Yes.
print
Mhm.
because they'll say it, and especially fantasy names. Like sometimes you get like the first time I saw Feyre or Feyre, I was like fish, fair. Like I had no idea. I was like having a stroke trying to read some of the names in those books. And I feel like that's so common with
Mhm.
fantasy books. And like Fourth Wing, when they came out with the audiobook, she was very nasally. And I did not feel like she represented a young girl. Like she didn't sound like a young girl. So
Yeah.
when I went back and listened to the audiobook for that, I had a really, really hard time connecting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm the same way where I have to read it first, usually,
Mhm.
before, because I can also tune it out. Like I feel like I can tune an audiobook out
Mhm.
so easily.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I do have to read it usually
First.
physically first before I can do an audiobook, because unless you're Jim Dale.
Yeah, I mean, you did get tainted by Harry Potter from the get-go.
Yeah,
He's a good reader.
So
my
good.
first audiobook was Jim Dale, and he is there
Chef's
will never
kiss
be
for sure.
anyone like him.
And he
I'm just
did,
telling you.
yeah, for Harry Potter. That's right.
Well, and we have our two camps. I am 100% on the Jim Dale
Mhm.
camp because he is superior.
Oh no. People gonna come at you already.
Staking
okay.
my claim.
Let's go back to the whole Farah thing. So whenever you read a name and you're not sure how to pronounce it, when you're reading it, do you mispronounce it in your head or do you just look over the word and skip over it? Because I look at the word and skip over it. I'm like, yeah, that's that word, and then go. Because I just don't.
I think I just butcher it in my head and then
Yeah.
stick with that until Miss Audiobook tells me how to actually say it.
The researcher in me, I go onto Google.
I don't
and
do
I
that.
like have them pronounce it. Or this is also why I use my Kindle on my phone, because I will have them pronounce it.
It does that?
Yeah, if you like highlight it. Yeah.
Learning things already.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Well,
girl,
I
for
mean-
being a Kindle book reader, I am shook that you have never...
Like I said, I just skip over the words I don't know.
No,
I don't-
I highlight it, and if I don't know what the word means,
Oh my god.
this sounds so bad. I will look up the definition on my Kindle, like by highlighting it.
No, I knew
I
that
mean, I've
part.
done
Does it
that.
pronounce
But it's
it?
on there. It has like the little
The little sound, yeah.
The accent things and the
yeah,
long
and then
vowels.
switching it if it's like in a different language, like Discovery of Witches,
yeah.
which was
Yes.
entirely in French. I had to use that feature a lot.
I mean,
at least you did it. I just, again, skipped over it and I'm like, okay.
I'll get
I
enough.
just don't need to know what they're saying. It's fine.
It really is. Like,
Yes.
I can read a book and there could, like, some people want to know, like, in the bedroom, like, the curtains were red and velvet and they, like, draped longly on the floor. And then the bed was like, I don't care what's on the nightstand. I don't care if there's a glass of water. Is it full? Is it half, like, empty? I don't care. I could just move on and my life is,
It's a bedroom.
yeah.
I have
Like,
formed a bedroom in my mind. Ooh, that's the other thing. We all play movies. We're not just
Yes.
a word people, because that was something that shook me when I found out some people really do not picture anything up in their brain. And thankfully, we all have this in common, so it's not a point of contention ever. We all have like little movies in our brain when we read things. Like we fill in the blanks as needed, and it is
Always.
a movie playing as we read. And I love that we all have that.
Yes. I think that's what, like, I think that's why we love books. I can't
Yes.
imagine loving
I
reading
know.
and not having that be the case.
I think I saw an interview, nobody quote me, of the Lightlark author though, and she is a word person. And so I was very impressed. She wrote a whole book and like she has no like true vision of like what that looks. I was like, that's so impressive to me. Like
I
to not play that
cannot
out.
imagine that at all.
I know, that's what's so wild about it, like to me. I don't understand.
Hmm.
I feel bad,
Interesting.
honestly. Like it's impressive.
I mean, she wrote a really great book, so
I really do want to read that.
it really
do
is
too.
good. It's just, if knowing that she doesn't have a movie in her head and she came up with this,
That's what I'm saying. That makes me
Well,
Because
feel
there's a
she's
impressed.
young,
lot.
right? She looks
Yes.
young. Yeah.
Yeah.
she does a lot of like world descriptions, and so just the fact that she didn't have that in her brain and she was able to put it to paper, I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
What books got you guys love to read? What books got you guys love reading?
The first books that I really read when I was younger were like the Judy Blume books.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Hardy Boy books. All of those, like back in the day. But I struggled when, I don't know, probably undiagnosed ADHD, let's be real.
Same.
I just couldn't focus long enough when I was younger. So my love of reading really bloomed more later on, like college, like high school, college is probably more so, just because I could not focus. The amount of times I started Harry Potter when I was younger and could not get through that first chapter, so many times.
Wild.
Just couldn't.
Really?
Could not do it. I just tried. But my attention span was just not
Yeah.
in a place where I could do that at that point. But, so I was a late bloomer to Harry Potter. So I liked to call myself a fake Harry Potter fan because I had watched all the movies, was like so into it, but had never read the books.
Oh, you're a movie and
I
then a
did
book person?
not realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, that just rocks my world.
I know. So
Huh.
in college, I binged them. Like I'm talking, read them so fast. I remember one of the nights I stayed up till 5 a.m. Like I will continue reading, and then like woke up, continued on. And then since then, I don't even know how many times I've read it.
I was gonna say you've read it a lot of times since
physically
then. You redeemed your fake Harry Potter
I mean,
fandom.
Physically through several times, but
Yes.
the audiobooks, like, God, I'm like hundreds of times at this point,
Yeah.
because it used to be like what I would just listen to when I was doing stuff around the house. So Harry Potter is what really got me into like loving fantasy, loving magic, loving like this alternative universe and world that's like within ours. Kind of just like escaping reality into something that's just so cool to me. And then of course Twilight. I was Twihard back in the day.
But did you do the movies or the books first?
Oh.
Books. I did do the
Okay.
books of those.
I was like, girl, you're about to really throw me off if you've watched all these movies before reading.
No.
Okay.
Those, I was fully in my reading zone by those. So I would do all the like midnight premieres for those.
Oh, yeah.
the shirts, the all the things.
No doubt.
So
I see that in you.
hardcore Twilight back in the day. And then Hunger Games.
Yes.
Kyle actually read Hunger Games in his young adult lit class in college. And he was like, I think you'd really like this. And he gave it to me, and I stole it from him and read the whole thing in like 12 hours. And then continued on and finished them and loved those. So those are all like my introduction into the fantasy world, I feel like. And then I lived for several years in Harry Potter fanfic.
Oh yeah.
I was deep. I went deep into the fanfic. So honestly, I feel like that just really prepared me for so much of the things that happen in fantasy books.
You're not wrong.
Those authors they don't hold anything back, but also some of the most wonderful and like incredible stories I've ever read in my life were from these authors that were fanfic writers. And I just loved it. So it took me a while to get out of that. ACOTAR was probably when I got like pulled out of my fanfic era. And here we are now. What about you, Brie?
I was kind of I was early day readers. I mean, friggin', as soon as I could read, I feel like I was like, let me just read everything. That being said, I hated reading in school. I hated writing in school, but you give me a fiction book of my own, I will absorb it in as quickly as I can. And so I started with like Magic Tree House, and one of my favorite, I know, back in the day. Those with That's what I'm saying, though. I was so early. And so I remember very specifically in elementary school, I loved this series called Shadow Children series by Margaret Peterson Haddix. I was obsessed with literally, like, this is where my obsession already started. Everything she came out with, I would read immediately. I knew when things were coming out. I was like looking that up already. And so that's really just a precursor for where I'm at now in my life. But it was funny because I was probably third or fourth grade when I started reading them. And mind you, these books are about the fact you are not allowed to have more than one child. And like these people were having more than one child and it was like kind of dark. So I had to get special permission to read these books because they had mature content for a third or fourth grader, which again, also a preconceived notion of where my book taste would go. I just don't need permission now. So I freaking lived at the library during the summer. I was freaking maxing out those summer reading programs. My mom was taking me every week because I'd get a pile, have that read by the end of the week, getting another like, I have my library card still memorized to this day. Like I was, yes, I don't think you guys realize how much I loved reading as a child. So it just never really stopped for me. I definitely have lulls in it, but my love of reading has really never faded. Of course, that eventually spiraled into high school where I got into Twilight, Hunger Games, Harry Potter, all of that. And then, I just haven't stopped. So mine started kind of early.
Yeah.
Mine started late. I also did not enjoy reading in like elementary school, like all those comprehension tests that we had to take. I hated it. I hated all of it. But because you had to go to the library, you had to find like books you're supposed to read. You're supposed to check something out. I remember reading like only Goosebump books. So anytime I went to the library, those are the books I got. Yeah. The funny thing is, I can't watch a scary movie now.
I know. That is funny.
That is funny.
Like, that's all I read. And
wild.
If I watch a scary movie, my ears are closed and my eyes are closed. Like, I am like peeking through my fingers because I can't handle it anymore. And especially like the more realistic ones, like where there's people who are like,
if it says based on a true story ever, I'm out.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
But give me like a vampire movie, like Blade or Van Helsing, like any of those things. I love those. Fantasy.
Yep.
Yes.
But not real stuff. I can't.
Because you can tell yourself it's fake.
Yes. I can do the monsters, but I can't do when people like
when people are
peel
monsters.
each other's nails off. I can't.
Nope.
Why?
Why'd
Did
you go
give
to
me
that?
that
Oh, why'd
image?
you go that hard with it?
Because I just, like I said, I can't watch any of those like crazy
Ugh.
thrillers like that. It just,
Yeah. Ugh.
anyway. So I only read because I
Mild
was
segue.
forced to read through school. But I'd like to say that my curiosity with books, I think is the better word for it, was when my grandma had come to live with us, probably, I don't know, when I was like late teenager.
Mhm.
And she would just sit on the couch reading her little romance novels, her little smut books. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like,
Oh.
why is she just laying there? Like, what is so great? She would just either be reading or crocheting. And
Oh.
Grandma's living her best life. I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds great.
so, like, I had moved away and I was at Walmart and I was just perusing the book aisle because it was right at the checkout stuff. And I'm like, oh, these are like one of the books that my grandma read. Nothing else like appealed to me. I was like, oh, I'll try this. My grandma was reading some things. I was like, oh. So I read a lot of like,
Honestly, get it, Grandma. Love
but
that.
she read a lot of, I read a lot of Joanna Lindsay and Julia Quinn. I actually didn't even realize that I read the whole Bridgerton series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
remember you telling me that.
Yeah, I watched it because obviously it was
Yes.
really popular, and I was like, this is so familiar. I'm like, how?
Whereas I would know exactly. Like, I
Yes.
can't.
No, and I was like, how
How do I know
like all of this, like everything is happening. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are the books that I used to read. And I go upstairs where my little library is, and I'm like, I got to find all these books. So I had all of them.
Oh my
Only
god.
to realize, like 2 months before, I had donated them all to the library.
I do remember you saying that.
Oh,
heartbreaking.
No. I was literally about to be like, hey girl, can I get those? Because I want to read them.
I was so sad. Anyways, but then after that, I got into the Twilight series. And then as I got older, I was actually on my way to Hawaii to visit my grandma and picked up the Discovery of Witches in the airport. And I learned to love that series. It was just like a random book that I picked up.
Yeah.
I didn't read the back. I was like, this sounds interesting.
You don't do that.
Because I don't do that. And I was pleasantly surprised.
Which is perfect. Sold.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love all that, like, I don't know. I'm just
Magic.
so, yes. I love
Yeah.
it. Just take me away from all the crap that's out here. But yeah. And then there was a series that I read, the Afterlife series. I don't remember who that's by too, but that was, I think I read 6 out of the 8 books. It was very good. And that had a lot more dirty scenes, spicy scenes,
Got you into
sexy time
some
scenes,
smutty.
some things. But yeah, it had more of like the morally gray people. Yes, like Twilight had. Wasn't really morally gray. You know, yes, he was like really old and she was really, really young, but that's not like bad.
He had an interesting past.
He did.
It was like a YA version of Morally Gray.
Yeah. But this one, he was
Morally gray.
Yeah. So that really got me into it.
I find it so interesting that, like, we pretty much have, other than like the early kind of fantasy things, we pretty much all have the same books that brought us into fantasy. So it feels like this is a relatively newer genre that has gotten like so much popularity in, you know, the last 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like picking up like even more so now. But it all really started with the same love of all these series, because I feel like if you see any other people on Bookish, like Book Talk, whatever, a lot of them say similar of like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Twilight, like those were really the big original ones that have gotten people into loving this genre. And then now, you know, they're dubbing it the romantasy genre, which I think fits it perfectly. But I just find it
Yes.
so interesting that, you know, this is a relatively newer genre that is really picked up in the
Yeah.
last however many years.
Yeah, I do agree.
Do you guys, what is your stance on DNFing a series or a book? I personally can't. Like, it has to be
Uh-huh.
Bad.
bad.
Yeah.
Because I just have to know. Like, for my
Yes.
own self, I have to know what happens.
Yeah.
I have only DNF'd very few
Yeah.
series. And even then, I'll still think about it periodically where I'm like,
I should have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot for me. But for some people, it's really easy. They're like, if I'm not into it, I'm done. Bye.
What
What
are
about
you,
you?
Veronica? Are
I
you
am not. I hate not finishing books.
okay?
However,
Well, yeah.
this year I couldn't finish, I think, 2.
Mm.
One of them was the one that you had recommended, the Crave series, and then the other one was
I DNF'd those.
the Guild
Sorry, guys.
series.
Yep,
Oh,
that's the other
yeah.
one I DNF'd. Oh my god.
Yes, I couldn't finish those ones. There are series. I didn't finish the Zodiac Academy series because like I had read all of them in a row and then it had been like another year and I'm like, I can't, like I've already moved on. Like again, like I forget about the things and then
Yeah.
I've moved
Mhm.
on. So that's when I don't finish series. But as far as not
Yes.
finishing books, I hate it. Like I try really,
Yeah.
really hard to finish it, even if I hate it. Like I take pride in finishing books, but I was like,
Yeah.
I just don't have time for it. I am cutting this stuff out of my life.
Yeah.
Yes, it still hurt me to not read it, but I like forced myself to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't do
I was going
it.
to say, I think we're all the same then because I also hate not finishing. It is actually in like something I'm impressed that people can do, like that they just can
Mhm.
be like, I think this is garbage. I won't finish. I'm like, how though? You didn't get far enough to know if you
Yeah.
actually hated
You
it.
didn't give
You
it a
missed
chance.
maybe something. That being said, there are also some series where if it's just not all out yet, that I'm sure I have like just not finished the series, and I'm always just like, did I? Didn't I? It keeps me awake at night.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I'm like a diehard. I've got to finish, and just if it's bad,
Yeah.
then like I'm going full into it and finding out just how bad it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like I guess, I don't know that I've ever DNF'd an actual book, but a series
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
not finished. I will finish Guild just because.
See, you can't.
Will you though?
Yes, because I've already read the 4 that are out, and then Gold just came out, so I have to just do it because I feel like it was just starting to maybe pick up a little bit, but they were not my favorite.
goodness. I'm glad I
And
did not do
then
that to myself.
the Crave series, same thing. I'm
Sorry.
like 3 or 4 books into that, but I
liked them.
think I'm 4 books into it.
Oh yeah, and
I know,
Haunting
you love
Adeline. I didn't finish that one.
Well, that
Well.
makes sense. Somebody didn't read some censor
Trigger
warnings, maybe.
warnings.
Yeah,
Oh
trigger
man.
my
warnings.
Read the
God.
trigger warnings.
I
There's
don't
a
even look
reason
at
there.
that stuff.
Oh man,
Like I can usually
handle what's coming.
handle it, right? Like there's not like any hard no's for me, but it just got intense, and I was like,
This is my hard no right here.
Yeah. No. I can't. There are a few books that I read that are like really dark, and the one that I read that was really dark was a fanfic, and it was just so incredible that I like had to keep going. But I had to like have a moment
Yeah.
for a while after. I was like, okay, I need something fluffy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bring me out of this because, whew,
Too dark.
that was rough.
Speaking of series that we never finished together, Blade and Rose series.
Did they ever finally come out with it?
No.
No.
Okay, that one makes me mad because I was very invested
Yes,
in that
We
series
all
and
liked that
really
one.
loved it.
Yeah.
The characters were great. I really loved that series. And I'm upset.
One
I know.
day, the author
Well, the
will
part
finish.
that's the part that
And we'll
sucks
have
is
to
that the
reread
last book.
completely.
Yeah, the last book had like didn't it have like a little epilogue, and it kind of like went into like what the last book was supposed to be, or have like little bits of it. Because I remember you had like theories already, Kayla.
Oh, so many theories.
Yeah, I do think it
Yes,
had like
because
a
It was
Yeah.
from his perspective.
Yes. And so I was like looking forward to it.
And it was
like,
not good.
why are you teasing me? And then
It was like a huge cliffhanger.
One day, guys, it'll happen.
Oof.
Maybe. Hope
The
I
amount
don't
of
know.
predictions I had for that one.
I know, but I don't know if I can
Don't
reread the whole
remember any
thing
of them.
because it's been
I mean,
3
until
years.
this series is actually complete, I would not.
I
I'm
think
not.
that's the
I'm not
last
doing
one.
that again. No, I thought it was 2.
No, 2.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were not just waiting for 1, which is why I think it was even like, okay, when this comes out, like I don't want to reread.
I can't even remember the characters' names from those. Actually, that is one that I'm like,
I'd have to reread if
and I
why
kind of get
ever.
it mixed up with ACOTAR a little bit because like has some similar. Well,
Yes.
not even ACOTAR. Throne of Glass. I
Yeah.
was getting it mixed up with Throne of Glass because
It did have some.
a lot of kind of crossovery
I do recall that.
things in it that
We just need to at least get you to read Throne of Glass.
I mean, we will. I will.
I
You
know.
guys will do it
I
with
know.
me.
I have faith.
you
I
have all the
faith.
books now.
I do have all the books now. We have
God
this reading
bless.
library at work.
And
And
she said,
someone
"These
so
mine now."
graciously put them in there. They donated them. And now they're living with
She
me.
adopted them.
I almost book dragoned them, but I was like, I already have all of them in hardback. I do not need all of them in paperback. Don't be a book dragon, Kayla. V, you haven't read them. Here you go. You take them.
Yes.
I was almost a book dragon.
We're gonna have to.
But whoever you
Thank
are,
you.
ends up watching this, thank you for donating all of those because
right?
so nice of you.
I know,
Yeah.
really though. Those are so good.
I know. I can't wait. Kayla, what are our goals for this podcast?
Really, I think we just want like a safe spot to just talk about like our favorite books. It's not fantasy isn't for everyone. We're coming to find out though it's for a lot more people than you'd think, and a lot of people are giving it a chance right now.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But I think we just wanted a place to be able to discuss our favorite romantasy books. We really wanted to make it kind of feel like a book club, so we want input, opinions, like DMs, anything, predictions, like all of that. We want people to feel involved because life just gets really crazy. So maybe people don't have friends that are into this genre, or maybe they're in a certain time in their life where they don't have a group of people that they could do a book club with, or the time or
Yes.
the space to do it, because kids, work, all of that can really be time consuming. By doing it this way, it can be on your own time. But yet
Even for us,
we
we're
still
really
want-
busy.
yeah, which it makes it hard, but we want to build a community and a place where people can talk about their favorite books. And really, I just love talking about this with you guys and spending this time with you guys. So even if no one ever listened, it would be fine for me because I'm, getting to sit here and dedicate this time to my 2 best friends, and carving out space to talk about something that we all really love talking about. And we get really, giddy talking about. Like, we get on like these tangents, and so I just think that it'll be a great space for people to feel like they have a book club that they can do at their own like pace and input what they want or not at all. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of said it. Like, I do love this as an excuse to just hang out with you guys. So I'm on the same boat. Like, really, if nobody listens to us, I will be perfectly happy just because we have this time to talk about books, and our lives are chaotic. So getting us, just the 3 of us together, can be wild. So we totally get like the life balance of it all, which is why we do want to bring this like to you, because Man, if somebody had taught me about how hard it is to plan adult friendship time, that would have been great, because it is just insanely challenging sometimes. So I love this as an excuse to hang out with you guys.
No, I
Which is
agree.
also why we're doing this remotely. Like,
Yeah.
why we're not doing it all in a room together,
Yeah.
because this is a space we just
Mhm.
couldn't.
Mhm.
There's just no way between sports, kids, bedtimes, work, all of that, that we could carve out this time
Yeah.
repeatedly to all be together.
Yeah.
So doing it remotely like this was really our only option, and it's
Yeah.
actually worked really well.
Yeah.
I know.
Love it.
I feel like we're going to love this. I feel like this is good for us because I do
Yes.
miss you guys. Like,
Yeah.
even though I see you at work, it's different, right?
Yes,
Because,
absolutely.
and our schedules change all the time.
Yes.
And you're right with like soccer and for me, it's really soccer, everything.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say,
not
really
soccer
just
mom.
soccer.
Over your
I'm a
life.
soccer wife also. Like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Soccer is your life.
That should have been like, hi, my name is Veronica and I'm a soccer mom.
I mean, honestly, that
and a
should have been
soccer
your
wife.
And a soccer wife, yes. And so just, I love that I get to have time with just you guys. And I don't, like I said, I miss you guys. And this is great. I love talking to you about anything.
Yeah.
But also just talking about books and trying to reach out to other people who have the same love that we do. I think is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we loved doing our book club when we did it. And it fell off just because life got the best of us.
Yeah.
And getting together just wasn't happening anymore.
Yeah.
So this is our way of making that happen, because those were some of like my favorite nights, was when we would have our book club nights.
I do. I do miss those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely looked forward to
COVID.
them. COVID.
COVID did not do us any favors.
And we don't have to wear masks here.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
See our faces. How often are we thinking we're going to be posting things?
So we'll be a little dense at the beginning just because we are trying to do kind of a crash recap through Crescent City 1 and 2 in preparation for book 3. So I know my hand movements. And so our goal is to come out with this lovely intro podcast, just so you get to know us before we really get into an actual book. So next week, on January 19th, we're going to do a Crescent City 1 recap. You are free to read it beforehand, but if not, we're really going to try and tackle the big things that happened in that book. So you do feel prepared for Crescent City 3. And then we'll recap Crescent City 2 on February 2nd. So it'll be right after Crescent City 3 comes out. So we kind of had to crash through it pretty quick. And then for mid-February or beginning of March, we're going to go and read Crescent City 3. Our goal with that mid-month is to have read just half the book. We'll give a more clear depiction of what half the book's actually going to look like once it comes out. But we're going to do a hard stop halfway, which is going to be a challenge, I think, for some of us. And then we're going to do a podcast on what we've read so far, what has happened, and then get into kind of where we think it's going. And then at the beginning of March, we'll do the rest of the book. So we'll finish the book and then we'll go over all the big points for that and just how we felt about all of it and what we think is to come in the universe that is Sarah J. Maas. Because I'm sure we'll have some thoughts by the end of this book, especially you, Kayla. I think you'll really have some thoughts about about the universe as a whole.
I'm already highlighting things in Crescent City.
I do not doubt it.
Like, I have picked up on so many little things that
yes,
I am dying to talk about it. But yeah.
So our goal really in long term is a book a month, and then kind of meeting at a halfway point, doing a podcast, and then an end point. So you are free to read along with us. Like I said, we'll give a more clear picture of what we're reading at the moment, but that's kind of where we're going for, through beginning of March. But we'll let you know kind of where we go with it, and you can join along with us.
So these first few ones are going to be a little denser because we're covering entire books, and they're not just small books. Like, there's a lot to talk about in these 2 books.
Yes.
Our hope then for our future regular podcast, once we get onto our regular timeline, is to be able to go more in depth into one book.
Yeah.
Because these are recaps, we're kind of doing it quick in one. But those splitting it up halfway should hopefully make it to where we can really
go into it a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then because of the type of books they are, like young adult, new adult, romantasy kind of things, we have to put the disclaimer that this is an adult content kind of show. There might be some spoilers, there might be some adult language,
adult content,
some spice
that we talk about.
We're going to talk about the spice
because we have to.
We also can't trust our mouths.
No, we all have adult
we get
mouths,
excited,
so just fair warning in advance.
So, disclaimer, this is an adult show. We will be talking about adult topics.
And we will, discretion. If there is a need for a trigger warning, provide that at the beginning. And, obviously we're talking about whatever book we're talking about that month. So there's going to be spoilers at a minimum for that book. But if there is any other spoilers, especially considering the books we're reading right now, we'll try to be, cognizant of that and warn you before we go into it. Same with our social media presence, especially for book 3. We'll try to be sensitive because we know some people aren't as crazy hard about reading as we are. So we'll try to lay claim to spoilers. But come March, all bets are off. I'm going to be honest. We're going to just be talking about it. So we try to be sensitive to
you're
that,
gonna hear
it. Correct. And then we'll try to be more aware of that in our social media, so we're not just spoiling it for anyone who wants to follow along.
Yeah. And that goes to say that's the same thing with Crescent City 1 and 2. If you are reading along with us, we will try really hard to just focus on Crescent City 1 for our next podcast. It is possible that there could end up being some kind of spoiler for Crescent City 2, but we will try really hard to keep it focused on that one specific book that we are focusing on. Yeah,
I agree.
No, I like that. All right. Well, I think that's it for our show today. If you want to join us for our Crescent City 1 recap, then please tune in next week, January 19th, for our next episode. Also, if you like what you hear, then please share it with your friends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.